Namaste. Welcome to the fifth edition of Vedic Webinar. Today is incidentally Yoga Day, a day when we celebrate the, the yoga, or the better put, Ashtanga Yoga, something that has made the Vedic ideas and ideals more appealing to people around the world. However, I would like to take this opportunity to explain you just briefly that the yoga that is being followed today is called as Ashtanga Yoga, and it is a very small, although very important aspect of the greater Vedic traditions. The Vedas explain not just yoga, dhyana, or meditation, pranayama, or breathing exercises, and Ayurveda. They are a much significant aspects of it. And ever since our founding in 2016, we at Vedic Management Center have been trying to spread the more practical aspects of the Vedic traditions. The world is going through a difficult time right now. The pandemic has upsetted a lot of life. They have devastated a lot of livelihood. The world is on brink of various conflicts. And at such time, a lot of knowledge that has been presented in the Vedic texts like Dharma Shastras, Artha Shastras, Artha Sutras, Niti Shastras are very relevant. One such most relevant aspect of Vedic knowledge is concerning the conflict revolutions. We live in an age of conflicts. We see conflicts literally everywhere. Every time there is an economic upheaval, people struggle and they do a lot of unfortunate things which never help the cause. If we cannot handle the conflicts inside us and outside us, be that family, be that society, nation, or even the world at large, we are going to have a very difficult time on our hands. And to find an answer to end such conflicts that has desecrated the humanity for all these years is the objective of today's webinar, which is the Vedic approach to conflict resolution. So as usual, I have prepared a deck. So let me share the deck with you. So conflicts are eternal part of our life. And no matter what conflicts we may see externally, they always start from within. That is our mind. As I have already explained in the previous webinars, mind is not we. Mind comes from the body. Mind is not brain. Brain is a part of the body. Mind comes from the brain. When the brain dies, the mind dies along with it. So these two are diametrically different things, and understanding it is very important. Since I have touched upon this topic already, so I'm not going to get too much deep into it, so that to make ensure that this session becomes more topic focused and relevant. First, let us understand what is conflict. In English language dictionary, the conflict is understood as a noun as well as a verb. As a noun, a conflict is a serious disagreement or argument, typically a protracted one. As a verb, it is simply when someone is incompatible or at a variance or something that relates to clash. The clash can be verbal or violent or both. There are two major conflicts that are really bothering the world right now. The first one is China versus the world. With the rise of the pandemic, the Communist Party of China has been blamed for a lot of mess that has been occurred. The mismanagement of WHO, disinformation, propaganda has not helped the Communist Party anywhere good. And amid this chaos, the United States currently is going through a pretty much tough time with the Black Lives Matter movement. It is difficult to remain neutral in any of this conflict. If you say anything wrong, if you say anything right, also, you can be pushed into one of the other category. We live in a polarized world, and in a polarized world, it is increasingly difficult to remain neutral. And when the neutrality comes to question, finding solution also always becomes impossible. To find solution, we need to first calm our mind and understand the either parties that are involved. But most of the things, as we see, we are in a reactionary environment. So we don't want to think too much. We don't want to analyze too much. We don't want to spend our time to understand who is right and who is wrong. So, and we just jump into the conclusions. As a result, the conflicts only escalates and worsen. According to the Vedic Rishis and Rishikas, every conflict has what they call as nimittam, or a reason. And that reason is not always superficial, it is not obvious. For example, if someone is going to, has done something wrong, if you, by law, he may have definitely done something wrong. But why did he do what he did or she did? They always have an explanation for that. There is a saying, if in everyone's autobiography, if they everyone wrote an autobiography, they would be the hero or the heroine of that specific autobiography. According to everyone, they are right. So the ability to accept the faults deep within us and to have the humility to accept it and then the perseverance to correct it is the most important thing that we all need to have. And that is something that is greatly amiss in this world. And all the nimittam, all these reasons, they always stem from a quality called as gunam. Gunam is nothing but an inherent quality. And there are three inherent qualities in humans. First one is called as sattvam or sagely. The second one is rajo or middling. The third one is called as tamas or evil. The sagely people are those people who always remain equanimous of mind, who are neither too attached nor too detached. They don't have any sense of vengeance. They do definitely act, they do their work, but they are not overly they are not driven by emotions, they are not driven by the mind. The Rajoguna people, they are essentially emotional, but emotional in a positive sense. The Tamas people, however, they do not regard anyone else. They are only worried about themselves. The selfishness is an absolute hallmark of Tamas. If they commit a crime, and if you ask the a tamasic person who, why did you commit this crime? The tamasic person will most certainly say, oh, I was done something wrong, so I have just retaliated. So there is always some explanation for any of the crimes what they did. They are never repenting. The people with Rajoguna are often repenting. They may do at the burst of a moment. They may do something that is wrong, but they have the ability when the mind comes to accept what they have done is wrong and to fix and to persevere and to make sure that they don't do that wrong again. The sagely people, however, because they are not attached to the worldly objects and have absolute control over their mind, they do not at any given point in time give in to the emotions. So whatever they do it with a lot of forethought. Most people in the world today, are either Rajasic or Tamasic. It is pretty simple to identify a Rajasic person. Rajasic person has a moral threshold. The person knows that you cannot right a wrong by doing more wrong. The Tamasic person has no ideas of moral. He can mock the morals as if they mean nothing. Understanding these three qualities of individuals, and sometimes the Rajasic person can be Tamasic and the Tamasic person can also be Rajasic. For example, if a Rajasic person has been hurt by an accidental death of someone in his family and he has been overwhelmed by remorse or a sense of tragedy, he can do a lot of nefarious things. And all these nefarious things will qualify as tamasic because they will never accept after a particular level the idea of morality. They let it go. The tamasic people can also be rajasic at a time. So these two qualities are always entangled. And the best way to judge a tamasic or a rajasic person is not by branding him by his past actions, but by observing him objectively. The only person to best judge a person as a rajasic or tamasic is a person who is sattvic. It's an important concept which has been taught at serious depths in a lot of Dharma Shastras and Niti Shastras. Now, just because a person is sattvic doesn't mean that he has no enemies. There is in India, most of the Indian languages, there is a word they call as ajata shatru, or a person who has no enemies. Such person has neither existed in the past, has neither does such a person exist now, nor will there be ever. Bhartrahari, one of the towering rishis of the Vedic era, in his work Niti Shataka, clearly states, Mriga Meena Sajjananam, Trinajala Santosha Vihita Vrittinam, Lubda Kadhibara Pishunam, Nishkaranameva Vairinu Jagati. What it means is that deer, fish, and sages seek little more than grass, water, and solitude. Yet they are wantonly pursued by the hunter, by the fisherman, and the vicious people. So, accept the fact always that no matter who you are, no matter what qualities you have, you definitely have enemies. The enemies are always within and they are also outside you. Identifying these enemies and working with them in sync with the principles of good conduct or dharma is the objective of all the Vedic texts. Now, in life, we are always doing some action, and every action has a set characteristics. Some people might think that, oh, okay, if action has consequences, let me not act at all, let me just keep quiet. Interestingly, even an inaction qualifies as an action. Action or karma have two types. The first one is called as sat karma or good actions, and the second one is called as vikarma or negative actions. And no matter what you do in life, you might do what some other person is wanting of you. You could either do what something other may not approve of you. So irrespective of whatever you do in life, you will always have to face two people. The first one is called as protsahaka or nindaka. In English, it can be better understood as a person who encourages or encourager. And the second one is called as vinindaka or a discourager. So if you want to do good things, you have people who will encourage you. You want to do bad things, you will have people who encourage you. And there will also be discouragers. Now, it is a very important thing to understand here, especially if you can speak an Indian language. In most Indian languages, which have a greater influence of the Vedic Sanskrit, Nindaka is often confused with Vinindaka. Nindaka is a person who criticizes. Anyone who criticizes you is not a bad person. He is not really your enemy. He could be your friend and he's just trying to warn you. In Mahabharata, Vidura says to Dhritarashtra that it is the objective of a sadhu or a good person to ensure that he warns any person he likes or he loves to do the consequences of that particular action. So if anyone is simply warning you or criticizing you, he is not your enemy. Vinindaka, however, he may appear to be like an encourager. He might appear to be criticizing you positively. However, he is up to his own mischief, and his specific objective is to ensure that you do not succeed in your specific objectives. The Vinindaka or a discourager are of two types. The first one is Shatru. So he is clearly up to ensure that no matter what you are pursuing, you will not achieve that objective at all, no matter what. He's in open and you can recognize an enemy effortlessly. The second one is the most important one, and that person is identified as Hitashatru, or enemy posing as a friend. It is easy to find an enemy. Once you know your enemy, and if you know the Vedic text like Niti, Bhutaniti, and various specific strategic subjects like that, you can finish off your enemy. It doesn't matter how strong or how powerful that person might be. But a Hitashatru is the most difficult of one. A person may be with you for hundreds of years, and he or she might quietly be looking at your success. And that person will always pose as a friend, always ensure that he doesn't give you any hint that he has a dislike or she has a dislike towards you. And that person would quietly cloud your judgment and make you to take some wrong decisions. Be that a Shatru or a Hitashatru, they are the people who are essentially the cause for the conflicts outside of our mind. And the conflicts are identified as klesha. Now, why do these Vinindakas, be that Shatru or Hitashatru, why are they what they are? There are only 4 reasons for it according to the Rishis and Rishikas. First one, they may be simply a murkha or stupid. Some people are plainly stupid. If you're succeeding, if you're doing well in your career, then just by looking at your success, they can easily feel jealous. The green-eyed monster is the most dangerous thing in life to have. So there is a great saying in Mahabharata. The biggest problem with the world is not that they have a problem, but because people have problem accepting others not having problem. That jealousy is disastrous. In Mahabharata, Krishna says to Suyodhana, later on corrupted as Duryodhana, that he says, Duryodhana, it is difficult to accept the success and achievements of our own loved ones. So, to accept the thing as the achievements of our opponent is even more difficult. So a sage cannot be called as a sage. A rishi or a rishika cannot be called so until and unless they don't have this essence of jealousy. And he says that even rishis and rishikas have had the problem overcoming this inherent quality of the mind. The second quality is muda, ignorant. Some people don't understand the magnanimity of the situation. For example, whenever there is a conflict between two nations, people, for example, one country attacks the another, then the countrymen of that country which are attacked and the country which is attacking will diametrically be opposite. They will take to social media, they will go on a rampage, they will say, these people are evil, these people are bad. And there's a absolutely mindless reactions that goes on into it, which essentially adds to a lot of complications. Now, such complications are extremely difficult to handle because of ignorance. The problem with the ignorant people is that if they are ignorant, they will not accept that they are ignorant. They are happy being ignorant. So when people are happy being ignorant, what are you going to do? How are you going to get them out of it? There's a saying, if somebody is sleeping, all right, you can wake him up. But a person who is pretending to be asleep, you can never wake that person up. The third reason for someone to be our shatru or is manda or a dimwit. Some people just don't have it in them to understand us or others. They have a very vague perspective of life. They don't want to get out of it. For example, the conspiracy theories. Oh, the rich have always been there. The rich have caused it. If you ask, someone who is into a conspiracy theory, he will just say that, oh no, this is a secret society. It is something like this. And they will never want to come out of it. They have assumed their perception as truth and they are going to hold on to it. The fourth reason is madi or egoistic. When people only have knowledge, as I've already explained in the previous webinar, there's a difference between data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. Data is not information, information is not knowledge, and knowledge is not wisdom. There are some people who have a lot of qualifications, who have a lot of academic achievements, but they don't have the wisdom. So when you don't have a wisdom, the most common thing in people without wisdom is that they are egoistic. Oh, me, I know better. He doesn't know anything. Oh, what is he to teach me? So all this ego comes to a person when he has accepted that the knowledge is ultimate and there's nothing beyond knowledge. And he thinks just because he is knowledgeable or she is knowledgeable, she is wise. Four types of people are absolutely difficult to handle. And because the one common thing between all the four is that they are extremely hard pressed to accept what they believe to be true, and they don't want to accept any other version of it. That adamancy is what makes any conflict resolution virtually impossible. It is definitely not possible to solve a conflict if you two have either of these, all of these, or some of the qualities that I've mentioned here. If you are a Buddha, if you are a Murkha, if you are a Manda, or if you are a Madi, then you are having a conflict with a similar person, you will only going to worsen it up. You are never going to solve it for any particular reason. So the first precursor to a conflict resolution is that you have to let go yourself these four key negative elements. And to solve any conflict, there are specific paths presented in all the Dharma Shastras. They are Sama or patience, Dhamma or giving, Danda, punishment, Bheda, destruction. Now some people argue the order of these approach to the conflicts. Some people say that Bheda, Sama, Dhamma, Bheda and Danda. So they confuse Bheda in the Bheda that is being used in the current Indian languages, specifically the North Indian languages. The Bheda is essentially to disintegrate or to split. However, Bheda is essentially comes from the original Vedic Sanskrit word Bhedya, which is to destruct. Punishment is not destruction. Punishment is to give an opportunity to the person who is committing a mess, a conflict, to end it. Now, let me explain this order in a specific way. Sama, patience. Remember that all the four qualities that we have mentioned in people who cause these conflicts have one major problem. They do not have patience. Patience can only come when a mind is at peace. When you know that neither good nor bad times last, and if there is a pain today, that pain has to go sometime tomorrow. If there is a situation, it is bound to change. If today the situation is not in my favor, let me wait for it to change. And when it is right, I will make the course correction and achieve whatever I desire or whatever I think to be correct. They don't have patience. But if you have a patience in a conflict, and if you can just wait, these people, because of their inability to patience, their internal conflicts itself could mess their brains, and they can, mess their own lives. So it is always better to have patience. There's a great saying in English: for all your days prepare, and make them ever alive. When you are on anvil, bang. When you got a hammer, strike. Most of the time, if you have adequate patience, it works. It definitely works. But you should have patience, even if they don't have patience. But when the patients don't work and they are just going on with their business to create more and more troubles for you, then the second thing you can see is you can see this Dharma. You can give something. It doesn't necessarily have to be money, but it can be something else. For example, an egoistic person could just go and touch his feet. Okay, you can just say that, sorry, you are a great man. I didn't intend to hurt you or something like that. And you can do something to retract. You can make sure that the conflict do not escalate. In uh, in Mahabharata, Vidura says, Lubdha martena grihinyat, stabdha manjali karmanat. Lubdha martha, lobha, artha. By giving something, stabdha manjali, people with dim wits, you just have to give them money and get the work done. Murkho chandopi. If he's a murkha, stupid person, just speak to him nicely. Just, pump him up and say, oh, you're so great, you're so genius. And he'll be pumped up and the conflict will be over. Lubdhamartena grihinyat stabdamanjali karmana murkho chandopi cha yathavatena cha panditam. If the person is wise, if he's a pandit, then you have to explain as is. You cannot fool a wise person. So if you are messing with a wise person, just go to him and explain that if you have committed something, that this is what is happening. Or if he has committed something, just explain it. That's it. This is what you have done. This is how it's going to happen. So when it is at a stage of Dharma, it is better to use this tactics of the word. Even if this doesn't work, if you give something and that person still hold on to it, then you can go for a danda. Now the danda doesn't mean that you go and punish anyone. In the civilized world that we live in, we have the legal system. So let's proceed with the legal system, file a case, do whatever you think is right, and let it stay. And even if that doesn't work, if your existence is at stake, only then does the Dharma Shastra gives you the right to self-defense, to use violence, to end it. But you have to ensure that you have tried these three things, Sam, Dam, Dand. Only when these three things in that particular fashion fail, that you can use Bheda, except in extreme circumstances. For example, if there is a vicious army at the doorstep, and there is no way that you can instill some sense in them or you can bring peace with them, then the best thing what you can do is you just have no option, but then you go Bheda. But in the other sense, in a civilized way, it is always the last resort. Some people ask me, what is so great about Artha Shastra or the Niti Shastra or Artha Sutras? Hasn't it all been covered by Sun Tzu's Art of War or Niccolo Machiavelli's Prince? The problem with these two texts is that they are about war. Art of War specifically says it is about war. Okay, and once you are at war, you have got no option but you have to win. You cannot seek peace anywhere in between. There's bleak chance until and unless either of the party is on the winning side. You cannot call in for a ceasefire. It never works. Okay, whereas in Artha Shastra they give you three specific ways. And due to the time restrictions, I won't be able to explain you it in great depth. But we have a course for that. If you want to register, you could do that, where it explains significantly how you can end a conflict at its root level or even at its preliminary level. This is a very important quote from it, and it is found in various Vedic texts. So if a specific hymn or specific verse is found in a multitude of Vedic texts, if they are repeated in many texts, then they often qualify as subhashitas or the wise sayings. In one of the sayings, they say, the Rishis or Rishikas say, Kasya dosha kule nasti, vyadhina kona cha piditaha, vyasanam kela na praptam, kasya sokyam nirantaram. Which is the family without a blemish? Who hasn't been touched by sickness? Who is without a vice? And whose happiness is really everlasting? It looks very subtle and very simple. But when you get into a conflict, especially when you reach the Bheda level, you must always understand, we always see this happening amid the religious radicalization. If you speak to a radical of any group, any religious group, let me not take anyone's name, there is this thing that, oh, that religion is, and that people of that religion are against me and they are out here to kill me and to kill us. So we have no option, but we need to join forces and we need to end them. But history teaches us that first the religion kills the other religion people. And when this religion succeeds, then there is a conflict within this religion, which leads to a split in that religion, which creates a more mess. The problem is inherently within us. It is in our mind. If our mind is not stable, if our mind is not at peace, we are going to not just make the problem worse, we are going to make a mess out of it. Until and unless we do not accept that we as individuals, we as humans, groups, societies, family, or even nation as such, not fully, foolproof, that we have some issues within us, we cannot at any rate go and solve any other problems. We need to identify our own weaknesses, start working on them, and only then can we, with this weakness, fight something that is more formidable outside. Let's look at these specific conflicts. Israelis and Palestinians, India and Pakistan, US and China, India and China, which is ongoing, capitalist and communist, Muslims, Hindus, Muslims, Jews, rich and poor. As long as we can take back our history text, we can see that for the last 2,000 years, we have had the problem between the Semitic faiths. Okay, the Christianity said that, okay, so there's a problem with the Jews, so let's fight the Jews. They fought the Jews, they persecuted the Jews. Then the Christianity was reigning supreme. Then there was a split within the Christianity. And then the Christianity had the Roman Catholicism as different, Protestant as different, and then various other faiths who wanted to revive the original faith of the Jesus Christ and his original work. Christ never said go and kill and do anything, but in his name a lot of things have happened. Then when the Christianity was weakened, the Islam came into the picture. And then there was a conflict between Christianity and Islam. Then the Islam got the Christianity out of the Middle East, all the way up to they got until the Constantinople. And they said that, okay, now we have the true word of God. And as we know it, then there was a conflict within the Islam. Then there were Shias and Sunnis. Then there are Hanbalis, Salafis, and all the other things. And then you go anywhere. In principle, if you are going to say that my religion, even Hinduism, even Buddhism, even Jainism, or any religion, you are going to say that, oh, my religion is best. If my religion rules the world, then we are going to be at peace. Believe me, that is never going to be. The rishis never built ashrams like the ashrams of today. They never built a cult. Excuse me. They always lived in solitude. If they had a work, there was something called as Chaturmasa. In a year, only for 4 months, the rishis would come out of their hermitage and they would make travel the world. Okay? And that was to test their knowledge or to present their knowledge or whatever they have realized to explain it. And they never created a fund, they never created a sect, and they never created a gangs. Okay? That is because they always suggested that Sangha is one of the biggest problems. Sangha is companionship. If you're going to be connected obsessively with any particular individual, that is going to be a problem. If you know a person too well, then there will be contempt. If you don't know a person too well, then there will be distrust. So, in any angle you look, the Sangha is the biggest problem. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, Dhyayet Vishayan Pumsa, Sanghas Tesho Pajayate. Sanghat sanjayate kamaha, kamat krodha vijayate. Krodhat bhavati sammohaha, sammohat smriti vibhramaha. Smriti vibhramshat buddhinasho pranisha. Let me explain you. It's a big one, sorry, but I think it is worth recollecting in this. Dhyayet vishayan pumsa. He says, my friend, listen to me carefully. Sanghas tesho pajayate. Sangha, or the attachment, is the reason for all the mess in the world. Sanghat sanjayate kamaha. When you are in Sangha, there's a desire. Oh, my friend has it. I too should have it. Oh, my friend has got married. Oh, so let me also get married. Oh, my friend has got kid. So let me also get kid. Oh, he has got a dog. Or he's got a cat. Let me too have it. Okay? Sangat sanjayate kamaha. Kamat krodha vijayate. So when you have the kama, and when the kama happens or it doesn't happen, you will have krodha. For example, if you have got what you wanted, if you have got what you have desired, then you will always find some flaws with it. Bhartrahari Niti Shataka says that there is only 2 times in life that your mind can be happy. One, at that specific moment you have achieved it. Okay? And the other, when you don't have it. These are the only 2 points in time when you will appreciate something in life. If you have that thing, you will never bother it. If you think you are poor and that someday when you get rich, you will be happy, believe me, if that was true, all the billionaires wouldn't have been, working. If they are so happy, why would they be doing what they are doing? Nobody is happy in this world. Krodhad bhavati sammoha. From anger comes delusion, because it eclipses your judgment. Sammohat smriti vibhrama. Then you forget it. Forgetting in the sense you stop looking at your own limitation of your own people. Sangat kama krodhat bhavati sammohat smriti vibhramaha. And you'll start losing your mind. Smriti bhramshat buddhinasho. When you lose your mind, you lose your intellect. Buddhinasho pranashati. From the end of intellect, you are devastated. So the attachment is the problem. If you think your religion, my group, my people, my village, my country, that is the problem. Just because you like someone, to oversee what the shortcomings they have is a recipe for a disaster. You should see that limitation. Loving in real sense is unconditional. That's what exactly all the sages, even the Christ had said, that if you want to accept, if you want to love someone, he even said that love your enemies. But loving your enemies doesn't really mean that you oversee their limitations. Forgive them, but don't forget them. So it is that attachment which is the root of conflict. And attachment with the futile ideas that my people are right, they are wrong, is the biggest problem. To find any solution to any conflict, The key is to find the golden middle path. For example, let's take the current crisis that is engulfing the United States, the Black Lives Matters. A black man was killed. It was sad, no doubts about it. And he is behind bars. And the government wants to say that it is going to take the action. However, the black people are saying that there was a similar case in the past where a black man was killed, or a non-white was killed, and all the cops were not convicted because of some conspiracies or things like that. Valid point. Okay. So instead of getting into a sensible conversation, instead of seeing that, okay, there is no disagreement in the situation that the black person who was killed was wrong. No white person is saying that, no, that black person, except some wackos. Okay. Everybody is accepting that. So why is it that a nation like United States, that's the most powerful nation on earth, cannot just get the two people, sit across the table and talk sensibly? Why is it that, the people who have been oppressed have to go on the streets? There's a beautiful legal system out there. Okay. The slavery ended with the war. Okay. Everything good has happened. Why is it that everybody is saying so helplessly that, oh, this country is going for the tops? Why is it that polarization is being let go? The melting pot of civilization, every nation, every individual have been brought into that country and they are made to be there. So this country, which has accepted everyone with an open arms, cannot solve a problem like this. The problem is very simple. Everyone is polarized. They just don't want a solution. They want to make a mess and make a show out of it. Both the parties, I'm not taking anything. If you want a solution in this scenario, find that golden middle path. Make the people, the stakeholders sit together at a table and find that middle path and work on it. It's not a rocket science. You just need a balanced two people with sensibilities, without any anger, without any too much of obsession to anything. Sit aside and work on it. Let me tell you a story from my book, Rishi Tales 2. The Rishi Tales 2 is my fourth book. The first, there's also a Rishi Tales 1. If you want, you can buy it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or anywhere you deem fit. And there's this story, which I think is very worthy of recollection in this current regard. The story is called Prince Deserving. It was originally written in Vedic Sanskrit, and for a lot of time, nobody ever cared to translate it for some reasons. I don't know why. So somehow I was lucky enough to find this and translate it myself. So the story is about a king named Pravardhan who apparently had two sons and who had twins. Usually, when a father, a king, is dead, then the eldest son is to take his position. This has been a norm almost everywhere. However, when you have a twins, you have a problem. Who is going to sit on the throne? They are born at the same time, at the same day. So it's going to be very difficult. It's a close call. So the king Pravardhan took the case of his two sons, who were named Bahudana and Gyanadhana, to his ministers. So he had 8 ministers in his cabinet, and he discussed with them, what do you think? Who should be the successor? And one faction said that Bahudana is very strong. He has never lost a war. And to run a nation, you need to have the ability to finish off the war, and is good with the the weaponry and everything, with strategy. So I think he should be the king, or he should be the successor. The other faction said that that's all well and fine, but to run a kingdom, you need more than the masculine ability to create war and things like that. You need wisdom. And Gyanadhana is with a lot of wisdom. So we think that he should be there. Now, when the cabinet is divided in the Vedic era, then there was a tiebreaker. And the tiebreaker was Rajaguru, or the mentor to the king. So the king took both his sons and went to the Rishis, the Rajaguru's ashram. The Rajaguru never lived in the capital. They lived away from the civilization. And they had so-called ashrams. Ashrams are basically huts where people would go and study with them or seek their counsel. And he went there and he explained his predicament to his Rajaguru. And the Rajaguru said that, okay, give me some time. Let me see, I need to test them. I have not seen them. I have not met them in a long time. So I need to see who is best. So I need to travel across the country. Give me a month's time. I'll come back to you. What exactly happened is that they were traveling, and during those days, there were no legal systems. So if any person had a problem, they would go to a rishi or a rishika and ask for their guidance to solve that particular issue. So when they're passing through a forest, a jackal approached the Rajaguru and he said that I have a domestic problem. Can you please come along with me and help me solve this particular issue? So the Rajaguru said, okay, this is Bahudana. He's a prince of this nation. He will solve your problem. So Bahudana went along with the fox. And once it reached the fox, went with the fox, the situation was pretty tricky. The fox and his wife had a pup. And they had to go out to hunt. And they had nobody to take care of the pup in the den. So the husband was of the opinion that the pup should come along with them. Then the mother was saying that, no, it will be dangerous. So it may not be a good idea to have the pup along with it. So there was a problem. So Bahudana said, okay, that's a pretty simple situation. And they said, what? He said that, let's cut the pup into the half. She can have half. You can have half. You can take it she can keep it in the den. Everything. So when the fox or the jackal, heard about the solution, it was upset and it attacked Bahudan. Bahudan took his, sword and it killed that fox, unfortunately. When the wailing mother and the wife attacked him, he killed it too and left the pup as orphan. And when he came back and, he explained the situation to the Rajguru. The Rajguru was like absolutely stunned. So then they moved on. And after they moved on, at some point in time, there was a woodcutter who approached the Rajaguru, who was a Rishi, and he said that, Rishi, I need your help. I have a problem with my friend. Can you please help us? He said, this is Gyanadhana. He's the prince of the nation. Please take him along with you. Okay, he will solve your problem. That's fine. So when he went there, the situation was this woodpecker and his friend were living deep inside the forest, and they had agreed that whatever the food either of them did, because in a dense forest, it is difficult to get a food, they will divide it equally. Now, incidentally, one of the friend had found a sugarcane, a bunch of sugarcane. And a friend was insisting that he will have the top off, which was looking juicy. So what to do? So Gyanadhana said, it's pretty simple. He took his sword and ripped apart the sugarcane right in the middle, solved the dispute, and he came back. And when the Rajaguru, Rishi, asked what happened, he explained it, and he was pretty happy about it. Then he said, okay, we have had a good time by now, let's go back to the kingdom. So they were riding back to the capital, during which they found a beautiful orchard, and which was overlooking a beautiful lake. And two gentlemen were standing down there. And one gentleman said that, no, we have stayed from morning till evening, but I think the evening breeze is pretty good. This place is amazing in the evening. So the first person, his friend said, no, it's in the morning, it's amazing in the morning. So then they asked, so what do you think, Rishi? What do you think about it? He said, I don't really have an opinion. Let's see what they have to say. So Bahudana said, oh, it's a great time now. What's wrong with this? It's fantastic. It should be good in the evening, I guess, he said. One of the two person was upset. They asked the Gyanadhana about as to what happened. And Gyanadhana said, I don't think I have seen the breeze in the morning, but evening it's definitely nice. So I think I'm supposed to think that probably in the morning it's equally nice. So I think you both are right. And both people are happy and they went their way. Now, I don't have to tell you who became the successor. Naturally, Gyanadhana owing to his ability to find a thing. The problem we have today is that most of the leaders who have taken the positions of power, most part of the world, are people like Bahudana. They're intelligent, they're smart, they're strong, they're ruthless, but they do not have in them the essential ability to solve problems, the intent to solve problems or to end conflicts. Worse, we have these people who make a money out of these conflicts. So if you have a conflict going on somewhere, it's good for the armament industries. So let's do that. But is that really a nice thing to do? The biggest problem, according to me, is that the modern education system is about extremes. We are either this extreme or we are that extreme. And it is everything to do with competition. Everyone is competing and everywhere it's comparison. If you're simply competing and comparing with mindlessness, what are you going to achieve with it? Where is this going to go? You're only creating more conflicts. And you cannot end conflicts, more conflicts, can you? Modern education system gives us what I like to call as a tunnel view. You are all inside a box and you need to find a solution. So you need to get out of the box. But your problem is the education system has forced us to have a vision lesser than the box. We cannot solve a conflict that stems from comparison and competition with another comparison and competition. To solve a conflict, all the parties involved must first have a common idea of mutual interest and mutual coexistence. That it is okay that you can have a difference of opinion from me, that we can disagree, we can debate, we can argue for as long as we want, but that is not bad. That's okay. That is what makes us human, but that is also what makes us civilized. So just because somebody don't accept our version of God, our religion, or our political views, so they should be bad, is grossly wrong, and that has to be stopped. The greatest threat to finding such common interest is krodha or anger, mada or ego, and matsarya or envy. And these three things comes from comparison and competition. And all these things, they essentially stem from mana. Mana or mind that is weak can only create conflicts. Only mind without conflicts can solve conflicts. The inherent reason why we are unable to find solutions to conflict is because our mind is in conflict with its own self. Just look at you. Can you sleep well? Can these people sleep well who are in conflict? No, they are unhappy. They think everything is right with them and wrong with everyone. That itself is a conflict. A mana or mind with conflict is filled with fears. And if you have fear, you can never achieve anything significant in life. And in presence of fear, all virtues are destroyed. Now, this is how I've already taken 1.5 hours. Thank you so much for everyone's patience. Now, this is a very basic outline of conflict resolution, and we actually have a course. Now, we have made it into an ongoing course. It's an interactive course that we conduct, and it is about the lost art and science of Kootaniti. If you want to register for it, the link is in the description below. Go to our website, www.vedicmanagement.com, and all the information that you need is present there. So now let's go on to the question and answer sessions. So, does anyone has question? Okay, Vinindak is discourager or encourager? Vinindak is essentially Shashank. Okay, so Vinindak is essentially a person who discourages you. He's essentially your enemy. So he's not going to encourage you. He may pretend as an encourager. So when a Vinindak pretends to be an encourager, but he is trying to sabotage your efforts, he is what is called as a hitashatru. So, okay, so Jack Matthew, how do you think BLM issue can be solved? Okay, I think the first thing what we need for solving any issues, as I said, is that we need to accept that the fault lies in either side. That until and unless both parties agree to their own limitation themselves, nothing really worthwhile is going to happen. Okay, so does the idea of these type of people has any connection with the type of food, sattvic, tasil, and tamasic? Well, according to some Ayurvedic experts, the sattvic, see, you must understand the gunas are different in mind, they're different in body. Just because a person is a vegetarian, I'm specifically a vegan, but just because I'm a vegan doesn't qualify me as a sattvic. It is my actions, it is what I do. But definitely a non-vegetarian person cannot be a sattvic. Being vegetarian is a precursor. Definitely, yes. According to most of the rishis and great many rishikas, the veganism as a concept was originally founded by Gautami, which I could do another webinar if anybody is interested. So, if anyone wants to ask a direct question, you can raise. Okay, I have already have the hands here. Okay, so hello to hello Marinal, good to have you back again. Can you unmute your call? You are on mute.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening.
So going back to this social unrest that is here in the US, I just would appreciate your opinion on, because we hear a lot nowadays of this Black Lives Matter, which
Absolutely.
with me, it resonates almost like a license to be violent, because I mentioned to a few people, why would you say that? All lives matter. And they
Absolutely.
got really upset with me. And they said, don't say that. And I said, why? Because all lives matter, don't matter until Black lives matter. And to me, that sounds like almost a license to kill, because
Absolutely.
what they're saying is no one's lives matter until Black lives matter. So until there's this incidents, then we have a license to kill whoever. And we've seen it with the social unrest and the riots, that many people are justifying, saying that's okay, anger is fine, you have to unleash anger in this situation. And again, I mean, nobody justifies the way this man was killed. It was obviously wrong, but like you said, let the justice do the justice, let the legal system do the justice, and find, like you're saying, a common ground to solve the other issues rather than creating more violence. And that's what we've seen so far. And so a statement like that, it kind of like, to me, it's like a license to say, okay, whatever you do, if you act violently, now if you kill someone else, that's fine, because during this social unrest and riots, other innocent people have been killed. Many people have lost their business and they had nothing to do with this. And yet some people would say, that's okay, that's collateral damages, that's fine, it doesn't matter as long as, Black lives matter. And so to me, I find that a little hard to accept. So I wanted to hear your point of view,
Yes, I have
about this.
I definitely have heard about the situation. I am connected to the US. I got a lot of black friends with a lot of black ideologies. I have a lot of white friends. I have a lot of white politicians as well as black politicians there. And I think right now, I think it's too depressing to talk that thing. People just want to find a way to balance themselves. They just want to find a way to, okay, let's be, am I wrong just to be white? Is by being born a white is my problem? Okay. So I think what I would suggest for all the white people is that, take to sama, take patience. Okay, there's one problem with violence. Okay, there is no violence has ever succeeded its cause. So violence kills the person who starts it. It's always ends very badly. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the white people, I think they are doing what they think is right. They just have to keep quiet. This violence can't go on forever. It has to stop someday. Someday they will realize, oh, there's no money in the bank. We need to find some food. And people who are supporting this financially will go out of business because the economy is not in good terms right now, and it will die down. Now, if they, that's what I say, manda, stupid, ignorant, and these are the qualities of people who create conflicts. To end that conflict, at least one side must be without these four detrimental qualities. So if you can just wait, this will end. And I don't think that, any democratic nation, be that my own country, India, or even United States, where the democracy is being so hard, can be finished off with some riots.
Mm-hmm.
And it is definitely a political agenda. It is polarizing, and it is not going to help anyone. It is not going to help the black people, because once that violence is, it starts affecting us. I can suggest you one story which is more relevant. In India, around 1980s and 1990s, in Sri Lanka, there was the issue of, Liberation Tigers of Tamilam, LTT. And a lot of Indians, especially from Tamil Nadu, were supporting the LTT because, they were fighting for their independence. They were trying to do everything that is right. And I have lived in Tamil Nadu, on that part of the world at that time. I had a lot of friends who had worked for LTTs, and they had left LTT and they come to India to search for a living. And in 1990s, okay, suddenly out of the blue, the LTT killed the Indian Prime Minister to be, a former Prime Minister then, Rajiv Gandhi. And that changed everything. The LTT, which had unconditional support of the Indian people, the Rajiv Gandhi's mother had supported, Indira Gandhi had literally supported the LTT to begin with. It all died down. It finished off. And as you know today, the LTT as an organization doesn't exist. Now, this is not really a good thing for the lot of Tamil because it's a very complicated situation out there. Okay, but the violence itself diminished the movement, the right of determination of these people. Violence has never helped anyone. It has never helped the Islamic radicalist. It has never helped the entity. It has helped no one. Just wait for some time. I'm pretty sure that they will come to their senses. And by the time this everything ends up, the polarization will be against them, because a lot of blacks people are also being killed as a collateral damage as a part of it. Just have patience. When in times of distress, the only thing that we require is to have patience. And this cannot go on. I think only then, sometime they will bring to their senses. I think they are more like hippies. Hippies were like nice people. They started off nice, but eventually they became violent. And just see what happened to them. I think that is what is going to happen to this movement if they don't stop violence. I'm not saying that their cause is wrong. I'm not saying that what they're doing is their objective is incorrect, but their path is way out of the mark. I hope this
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah. May I ask you just another quick question?
Sure. Sure.
In your opinion, what role does karma play in all this thing? Even for this poor man that got killed,
Well,
did
see,
his karma had some kind of role, whatever he set in motion with his life, which we don't know. I mean, there's different stories about him. Some people are saying he was a criminal. He was in and out of jail. Now, I don't know if that's true 100%, but some people have researched his past and said that, this guy wasn't technically a saint. And so then I kind of I wonder what his karma then, what role his karma played, because obviously if you do bad in your life, regardless of your skin color and whatever you set in motion in your life, it's going to end one way or the other. I mean, if you do good, you're going to get good back. But if you continuously do bad, then we know. So I was just wondering, what role does karma play in any conflict where, we see oftentimes a loser and a winner, which we shouldn't see, but in history we've always seen that because of ignorance, like you said.
Well, karma is very simple. You see, there's a beautiful saying in English. It doesn't come from the Vedas, but somebody must have created it. In the restaurant of karma, there is no menus. You get served what you deserve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that should be it. Because I think if I say anything more, I could be qualified as someone, who is against some specific group. And believe me, I think that it is important for the United States to stay strong, especially at the time where the world is, it's such a difficult situation. The leadership of the US is very crucial. I do think that my country and my prime minister, has a great role to play, but I don't think he can do it on his own. So this is a time when two great democracies can come together. And I don't want to appear as an enemy to anyone else, except that I have to abhor violence, and I will do that. I don't have any problem with it, because you have a beautiful system. You got a free press. You can do everything. Prosecute the guy who did it. Finish it, okay, in the legal channel. What's the point in going and making the mess out of it? I don't think I should have any problem reiterating this, time and over again.
Yeah.
Especially when I don't know if I have any black audience right now. I'm, but yeah, that's my saying.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Sure.
Mahesh.
Thank you so much.
Very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hello, Kirti. I think you are unmute.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Wonderful presentation. Sir, I want to ask about Mahabharat. According to all the serials or the shows I have seen till now, like Star Plus Mahabharat, B.R. Chopra Mahabharat. So there are various reasons that caused the biggest consequence, which is known as Mahabharat in today's world. But who do you think, or I should ask that who do you think that according to Vedas is the real reason behind this biggest conflict known as Mahabharata? Is it Draupadi? Is it Duryodhan? Who is the real reason? Who is the real culprit behind this?
Okay, that's a beautiful question. If you have followed my conversation with Marinel just now, she asked about karma, all right? And that karma is the culprit in Mahabharata. So people were abusing their power. Everybody was, who had power, they were abusing it. Draupadi's, insult, it's not called as Vastrapaharan, but insult of Draupadi. I don't think there was a specific, thing where her dress, she was declothed or anything. But I think she was insulted as a slave. That is the one clear thing which is specifically there in Vyasa's Mahabharata. Insult to women is unacceptable in a civilized world. It doesn't matter Vedic, it doesn't matter anywhere. If a woman is not accepted, is not given the due, then that is, that's an absolute insult. So it was one of the culminating point which made it to that. But that was not the only thing. But what I can say you for sure is that because Draupadi was insulted and she had a very great friendship with Krishna, it's not a relationship, because if there was a relationship, Vyasa would have had no problem to say that, oh, they were having an affair. Because he mentions about the affair of Satyavati and Parashar, his own father and mother. Okay. So because she was insulted, Krishna got himself involved. And Krishna had a lot of problems. He had to let go his army. His army was on the Kaurava's side. So that is why he said that I'm not going to, take to weapon. I'm not going to fight, but I'll plan the strategy. And Yudhishthira said that will be more than enough. What led to the war is, in a very simple aspect, in a very simple words, is the fact that everyone was abusing their power, especially the Kauravas. That abuse of power needed to be stopped. And Pandavas did everything. When Pandavas sent Krishna, he said, to Duryodhana, forget everything. Just give me 5 villages, okay, and we'll be quiet. He said, I'm not going to give you even a small place to, to bang a nail, okay. So when abuse of power happens, happens when women are insulted, when the intellectuals, the knowledgeable, the teachers are not given their due. That is called as uh, eclipse of dharma. So when that happens, then there is no option but for war, and that is what exactly led to the war. Not just that for Draupadi, but Draupadi's was definitely a culminating point. I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you so much, sir. That's a wonderful answer by your side. Sir, if you don't mind, I want to ask another question
Sure, please.
it is regarding now times, present time, that
Sure.
Corona is actually teaching us many things. We all know. We have learned many new things because of Corona. But I want to ask that all of us are thinking now that we should now give some not only time, but we should give some deep thinking that how we should balance the relationship of us which we are sharing with the mother nature, with our mother earth. So actually I want to ask you that what is the balanced way so we can also develop ourselves, but at the same time we should not cause any harm to our mother nature.
Okay. There is a simple thing: need and greed. We have need. We have to eat. We have to sleep. Okay. We have to procreate as humans, and we need a place to stay. Anything you do for your need qualifies as dharma. Anything that you do as a greed, that qualifies as adharma. The biggest problem we have is to define what is need and what is greed. So if we have a need and we are pursuing it, which we have to pursue. If we are hungry, we need to eat. If if there is a rain, we need a place to sleep. If we are doing it with minimal troubles to others, that includes not just humans, but also the other plants and animals, with minimal thing, then that is okay. For example, if you are if you have got a land and you want to build a house, and you have let's imagine you get a snake, you have a family of snakes. So what will you do? You will kill them, or will you give them a better place to live, replace them, or what you call reposition them. So if we are so any need can be satisfied. There's no problem with the need. The world, irrespective of whatever the people say that the population goes anymore, we'll not have food to eat. That's complete nonsense. This world, this earth can feed, 4 times more population than it is, and I can assure you, that's how it is going to be. The problem is that we are creating a situation, the greed. Okay, for example, we have the meat industry. Okay, earlier days, what would happen is that if somebody wanted to eat meat, he would go out, okay, hunt and kill that animal, get the meat, eat. Today, what we are doing is that we are keeping this animal restrained in a specific thing, and as a result of which, they expose a lot of methane gases, which is very dangerous for the environment. When they are killed, their blood is let on the fields, which renders the fields unfertile. When the blood gets into the water, that water is contaminated. So we are literally killing our own planet for just a few experience of taste buds. So until we do not stop anything with greed, greed is anything when we are torturing people. It is one thing to kill an animal. I can, I can, the Rishis and Rishikas approved, although they never ate meat, that if you are going to kill an animal for your food, that is okay. And there was a specific rule: you cannot let that animal suffer. You have to slit its throat, and you have to make sure that there's a minimal pain. That is acceptable. But keeping an animal, generations of it, tortured in a torture chamber, and then to kill them, then to let that the blood get into the lands and water and kill everything, that is disastrous. That is nowhere acceptable in any terms. If we can simply identify our need, and believe me, there's so little we need to survive. Okay, and most of our need can be of all the humans can be satisfied. Greed can never be. If you can just identify your need and see that to satisfy it, if you are not hurting anyone directly or indirectly, That is more than enough to save this planet. Anything that is happening wrong in this world, anything that is hurting this world is greed, nothing else. I hope this helps.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much. Okay. So thank you so much, everyone. I've taken 2 hours of your time. So thank you for listening into this webinar. I will be back for more. Thank you so much.
Sir, there is a special request from my side actually for next time webinar.
Sure.
Actually, there is a special character in our history, but we don't know much about him. He is known as Prithvi Vallabh. So, if you can search about him, you will get a series on him named as Prithvi Vallabh, which was aired in 2018 in Sony channel on Sony channel. So, sir, I want you to next time please give some information on him because he was the king that believed in peace, and he brought about peace in Malwa, Manekhet, and in whole of the our country, whole of our India. So, sir, I want you to just cover his biography or his life history, so we can get some useful lessons about how we can maintain peace in these all the like in these difficult times. It is very important to maintain peace, and he can be a role model for us if we get more information about him. Prithvi Vallabh. He was
Sure.
the king of Malwa.
Sure. Thank you so much. I will do that. I'll try my best. Okay.
Yes.
So,
Thank
so
you so
thank you,
much.
everyone. Thank you, everyone, for watching in. And I appreciate your time. I'm way out of my league today. Okay. I have taken 1 hour more. So thanks again. Pranam and namaste.